I think it's story time. And I love story time. Let me tell a story. The story of James. Yeah, of course. I want to talk about myself. Of course I do. How did I end up making YouTube videos? How did I end up streaming on Twitch? These are questions that no one's asking, but I'm here telling you exactly how this happened. Well, every story starts with a beginning, so I guess that's a good enough spot to start. So let's start there. When I was growing up, I always loved video games and animation. And I was always curious as to how video games were made. I played a particular game. It was called Carmageddon 2. It was a fairly easy game to change and make my own and, do your own different little mods too. So I must have been around 10 or 11 and I decided I wanted to learn how to make 3D models. I wanted to make my own cars and skins in this game. So I slowly learned how to make cars, to make vehicles. And the program I used, probably not the best one to learn, but I had to place vertex by vertex to create polygons, to create triangles, slowly form a vehicle, and I loved it. So I had all these models of vehicles that I made, or vehicles I had taken from other games, but I had no way of sharing. So in my own infinite wisdom, I thought the next step was to create a website. So this is when I started Old School Customs. So this was well before I was in high school, and I basically just ripped and teared HTML raw code from different websites, and I made it fit into my own. It was a mess. It was barely functional, but it got the job done. At the time, I was part of the forum called CWA, Carmageddon's Webmaster Alliance. Everyone would just post their little projects that they're working on and, share them throughout the community. It was great. So I convinced a few other creators to let me host their stuff. Let me host their cars, let me host their paint jobs, all the things. So my little website grew a little bit. It was still a mess, but it grew. I had dozens of cars, I had dozens of paint jobs, I had all on my website. And with every little update, with new cars stuff, I'd do a little news update. I guess looking back, it's kind of like these videos. I basically just me talking to myself, explaining what's going on. Looking back, they were very simplified. They were the mind of a 12-year-old talking into the void. But as I went through high school, my interest in creating 3D stuff, it kind of waned. I became addicted to World of Warcraft. That was my new up-and-coming thing. World of Warcraft was an experience for me. I learned to communicate with others. I joined guilds. I cooperated towards a common goal. It was great. It was something I hadn't really done before. But at the end of high school, I was faced with the decision, I'm supposed to do something for the rest of my life. What the heck do I do for a living? I have got very limited skills. I didn't really excel at school very much. I was more interested in video games and creating 3D objects. What kind of job opportunities are there for someone like that? But regardless, I pressed on. I went to school for 3D multimedia. I'm gonna make video games. No, I didn't. So there I went. I went to school for 3D multimedia, and after 2 years, I graduate, and I'm hit with the sudden realization that my stuff's not good enough to get me a job. This is terrible. What do I do? So I pivot. I go straight into hotel management. It's an odd choice, but it worked out a little bit. I was kind of lacking people-to-people social skills. I wasn't good in social situations. Still not, but I'm better than I was. You should have seen it. It was bad. I had a hard time talking to people, in real life. There's a lot of awkward silences. So off I go. I do a year of hotel management at community college. And then I go off and I work in a hotel. This is great. I got to talk to a whole bunch of people. I got to really develop those personality skills. I'm a regular Gabby James. Forced education. I was gonna get good at talking to people whether I liked it or not. It was a job requirement. So I did that for a number of years. I feel like I can talk to people now. I feel like I got solid groundwork down for talking to people. Sure. And I did it for years more than I probably should have, like way more than I should have. So after a few years of doing the hotel stuff, I got that itch. I wanted to do 3D stuff again. I spent 2 years doing it at school, and I didn't like my artwork, so I kept on taking these courses online, and I kept on, trying to improve my artwork. So in the background, while I was working at this hotel, I kept on working on my 3D stuff. I kept building up my portfolio, and finally, when I thought I had the skills to get a job in the industry, so I quit the job at the hotel, and I worked my ass off creating a badass demo reel. Like, I'm proud of it. I did some great work, and I applied to hundreds of studios across the States, across Canada, even in the UK. Anyone who would have me. And I got a few emails back, and I did a few art tests. An art test, at least when I was doing them, they basically give you a time requirement to create an asset, and then you email it off to them, and they tell you whether it's good or not. The thing about art tests is there's a huge span of time where you don't have any communication between the studio and you. There'll be sometimes months at a time where you won't hear anything until they finally get back to you and they tell you you basically don't have enough experience. And after a few times of doing that, I ran out of money and I had to accumulate a large amount of debt. So I took the first job I could, and that was delivering furniture. I was pretty broken. I wasn't in a happy place. I was working, doing back-breaking work, kind of numb to the possibility that, I could do better for myself. I shot my shot, and I got shot down. Just brutal. And that's basically where I'm at now. I'm still delivering furniture. And now and then I'll kick off the rust and I'll do some 3D stuff just to make something. I still love creating, but I'm not keeping up with the tech. There's a high barrier to entry with 3D as far as like tech and time requirement. Like, you need to have the time to dedicate yourself to these things. And if you're a student, you have all the time in the world until you don't. Even now, just creating 3D projects, it's just not satisfying that itch. So what do? Well, I started creating and uploading videos on my old YouTube channel. That's this channel you're watching it on. Back in the day, I used this channel to make Warcraft videos. Like, they weren't very good Warcraft videos, but it's kind of a time capsule, so I'm kind of keeping those around just because. And creating these videos, that's scratching that itch, that creative itch. And all this time, I've been watching Twitch streamers, and they look like they're having so much fun. I love it. I absolutely love it. So after being inspired by a few Twitch streamers, I decided, let's give it a shot. See if this is for me. So I started, and while I'm still learning, I'm having a blast. I'm really enjoying it. I just love creating content. Even though it's not paying the bills, I don't imagine it probably ever will. I'm doing this for fun because I love doing it. So for now, I'm okay with the backbreaking work. I'll struggle on for a bit. As long as when I get home, I have the energy to create things, then I'll be happy. Anyways, that's how I got to where I am now. That's why I'm creating YouTube videos. I'm not sure where the future's gonna take me, but I'm sure happy to take you along for the ride. Thank you for watching. We'll see you on the Wednesday video.